Hey guys, this is Mike, the host of Craft Beer Storm, also owner, founder, and brewer at Bear Brewing Company in glorious Portsmouth, New Hampshire. Today we're going south. We're going to Virginia. We will be talking to Justin Smith. He's the owner of Beer Me. He does a lot of good work for breweries, marketing, websites, and also he is the godfather of National Beer Day. I did not know this. But National Beer Day is on April 7th, and he's the guy that he founded it. You know, it was an idea. I'll let you listen to the recording that we made with him. He has a lot of good knowledge about the local the Virginia beer scene and trends down there, and it's just very interesting. So here we go. Hey, we're here with Justin Smith of Beer Me, and he calls himself the Godfather of National Beer Day. How you doing, Justin?
I'm doing great. Good to be here. How you doing?
I'm okay, and I got connected with you. You're in Virginia.
Yes, sir. Located in Richmond, Virginia, or just south of.
Yeah, so I've been exploring Virginia and restaurants down there who want to establish some breweries, and I've been talking to a couple of them, or even guys who have a large space and they want to create a brewery, try to attract some restaurants. So I've been working with people down there. If you're in Virginia and you want to connect, let me know. Michael at BaraIrishBrew.com. We can talk about it. But I want to get into what you're doing and your story, how you got started, where are you now? What are you planning to do? I see Beer Me. I see the Godfather of National Beer Day. So maybe you can explain that to us.
Well, so I guess my thrust into the public part of craft beer was when I started National Beer Day. It was back in 2009. I was with a buddy of mine, Mike Connolly. We were at Buffalo Wild Wings. It was March 1st, 2009. And a guy comes by and he wishes us a happy National Beer Day. And so we, yay, cheers. And we continue on drinking. Being a fan of history, I go home, and as soon as I get there, I look up, why is March 1st National Beer Day? Well, it turns out March 1st is an Icelandic holiday. There it celebrates the end of 75 years of Prohibition, and they celebrate it every year as National Beer Day in Iceland. Well, my buddy Mike from England, he says, you know what? America deserves its own National Beer Day. We should have an American National Beer Day. And I blew him off for the first, few weeks. I kept telling him, I was like, it's a horrible idea. Because, you see stuff all over the place, like, National Balloon Day or National Bacon Day or National Cookie Day, and it has no historical significance. It's just someone decides, hey, I like cookies. My birthday is, October 13th. We should make that National Cookie Day or whatever the date may be. And so I kept telling him, was like, if there was a day to celebrate beer in America, it would already be done. But he just continued. And I said, look, just to get you off my back, I'll do some research into history. And if I can find a day that should be celebrated as such, we'll start a Facebook page or something. So it turns out in 1933, during the Prohibition era, there was a law signed called the Cullen Act. It was signed on March 23rd, went into effect on April 7th. It didn't officially end Prohibition because that happened with the ratification of the 21st Amendment on December 1st, 1933. But what it did is it redefined an intoxicating beverage under the Volstead Act. So now for the first time in 13 years, people can buy, sell, and drink beer in America as long as it is under 4% alcohol by volume or 3.2% alcohol by weight, which is where you get the 3.2 beer today.
Okay.
So we started a Facebook page, and a guy from Colorado did an article on it. Now, he made a bit of self-interest because his birthday is also April 7th, but he kind of took off and ran with it. A couple different articles got written after that. Untapped made it a badge on their app. So if you check into a beer on April 7th, you get the National Beer Day badge, which has led to it trending worldwide every year on April 7th. And just to give you an idea of the magnitude of what National Beer Day is today, I guess it was 2 years ago, Gorsuch got confirmed to the Supreme Court. National Beer Day out-trended that on Twitter and on the internet. It was also the same day that the new Star Wars movie trailer was released for Rogue One. National Beer Day out-trended Star Wars. So
there goes the power of beer, you know, and you know what, wacky, you know, the idea is it really wacky, you know, you just got to come up with these things and not dismiss them. And you didn't, you said, you know, well, initially you were like, I don't know, but you went for it. And you could see these outtrend Rogue One. And I mean, there's a new justice on the Supreme Court. Whatever. I'm drinking my beer. It's okay.
Right. Well, and to that end, we're not done yet. I was able to have, was it House Joint Resolution 90 this year in Virginia officially recognized National Beer Day in the state of Virginia. Last year, Terry McAuliffe, our governor, issued a gubernatorial proclamation officially recognizing it. My particular, my congressman, Dave Bratt, made an announcement on the congressional record talking about National Beer Day. So I'm working right now with federal legislators to have it legitimately recognized nationwide as an official federal holiday. Now, whether it's a bank holiday and we get the day off to go drink beer, that's yet to be seen. But I really think that we can have this, important date in U.S. history officially recognized. I mean, because even if you don't like beer, name another time in our country's history where they took away a right and then they said, oops, we made a mistake, have it back.
And it's an amendment to the Constitution. It's crazy.
Exactly.
You know, I mean,
right.
That has never happened before. Probably will never happen again. Just people, right. I mean, you would see pictures of people with signs and just, they were just livid that they took their right to drink beer away, which I agree with them. I think it's a sin, but I'm glad they brought it back. But at that Prohibition era, I mean, we're kind of trending back towards the local as well in terms of breweries exploding all over the place. I mean, before the 1900s, you know, I think there were like 3,000 breweries in the country. And then Prohibition came and kind of wiped all of them out, you know. And and then when Prohibition was repealed, a couple of breweries popped up again and became the monsters that they are. But you see, you know, that 3,000 breweries in the U.S. has just been blown. That's been blown away. I think it's at least double that. I'm not sure how many breweries are in the U.S. At least 6,000.
Yeah, we passed Prohibition era numbers or pre-Prohibition era numbers 2 years ago in the United States. We're past what we were in Prohibition. I know in my home state of Virginia, I believe currently we have 237 breweries today, with 30 more breweries under construction currently.
That's awesome.
So, yeah, by the end of, or I guess, middle of next year, we'll have 267 breweries, all things, remaining equal.
Yeah, I mean, I love the vibe down there. I was just checking stuff out. I was in the Roanoke area, the valley there, and Harrisonburg. You know, I'm talking to some restaurateurs, and it's a beautiful area, and people love their beer, and all the tap rooms are just jammed with people, and even spilling out into the the yards, and they have patios, and just a lot of people enjoying themselves and community. It's just a great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we here in Virginia, we have actually the first state beer museum in the country. Opened up 2 years ago. I'm on the board of trustees there for the Virginia Beer Museum. It's up there in Front Royal, Virginia. But we consider ourselves the ambassadors of Virginia beer, and we have 18 different Virginia beers on tap that we try to have some of the best of the best, the medaled winners, the ones that are kind of renowned. That when people come to Virginia, it's like, hey, this is what Virginia beer is. Try this. I think the only beer we have that's not a Virginia beer is we have one from Pennsylvania that's a replication of General George Washington's porter. So you can taste what the beer tastes like back in the 1800s. So, and then, kind of compare that to what's going on today.
After hearing what you said, I am humbled, that you are the Godfather of National Beer Day. I said, why is this guy putting it on his signature? But now I understand.
Right.
and you deserve that title, and well done. And I think it should be a national holiday. I mean, because beer is... it's a great thing, and it brings communities together, and you celebrate beer and ingredients and local, and that's kind of what we're trying to promote, on the Craft Beer Storm, local, and just getting together and supporting your local businesses and communities.
Absolutely, and it is a community thing. I kind of getting to where I am today. I started National Beer Day, and then I wanted to make it a goal of my own to visit every brewery in Virginia. Now that task has become a bit more daunting than it was when I originally started out. But one of the things I did is I created a map of all of the breweries in Virginia, looked up different ways to, meet each one of them, what cities had the most breweries and the best way to get around. There's a couple different beer trails in Virginia that existed, and I noticed there was large portions of Virginia that didn't have any type of beer trail or way that would, suggest it to get around to the breweries or what to visit or why, or, how to get there, where to stay. So just on my own, I created these kind of how I would group them together if it was me. Started some social media pages. I now own and operate Beer Me LLC, and we have 5 different beer trails here in Virginia that we operate to try to, promote different communities in Virginia. And, if you're going to Fredericksburg, you can visit the historic Hobbs Beer Trail, and here's all the breweries and a list and how to get there and a map and, different ways to get the local community and the local, the governments involved, Fredericksburg or Manassas or, Charlottesville, Lynchburg, have their local governments involved in, hey, here's what we're doing. Let's bring some tourism to your area specifically about the beer. And it's not just benefiting the breweries, it's benefiting the entire township because you have people looking for these great beers and they're staying and they're spending money, and it's benefiting the entire community because people are searching for in these great breweries.
The economy. I mean, I've talked to a lot of, economic development individuals in Virginia and the local ones in their town, and, they love the idea of a brewery coming in or helping a restaurant opening a brewery because it just brings more people in and it helps the economy overall. It's just a great thing.
Absolutely. I mean, in Virginia, there's or Richmond, Virginia, there's a place called Scott's Addition. And when Isley, I think, was the first brewery in there, the place was kind of a blight on the city. It was not a great area. It had high crime, low development. And once the brewery started moving in, that place now has, luxury high-rise apartments. Yeah. And, I think there's 7 different breweries that are there, all within walking distance, and all types of commerce has come to the area. As a result, it raises taxes. Schools are doing better because now they have more, money coming into the economy to, help pay for the education, et cetera. I mean, it's amazing the power of what the breweries have done for the area. Back in the early 1900s, people were blaming breweries for, crime and all of the world's ill. And now it's interesting today that it's the exact opposite. Breweries move into an area and development follows, and it's just a much better area because of it.
It is. I've seen it all over the U.S., these areas that are just, old and decrepit and buildings just falling apart, and then breweries go in and renovate these things, and, cities help out with some low-cost loans or grants and renovate these buildings, and they're beautiful. They're like usually on rivers or, you have outdoor seating, and you change something that's just been in squalor for such a long time to something that's very positive. Put a brewery in, put a restaurant in, and then you can put like hotel rooms in. Like I've seen people put apartments in these buildings as well, condos. So I've seen a lot of good things happening in Virginia as well. And I haven't been to the Richmond area yet, but I need to come down there and actually meet you, and we have to have a beer. Absolutely.
I'd love to do it.
So,
and that's one of the things my company does, Beer Me LLC, is we do the social media marketing, the website design, the beer trails, et cetera. So we really focus on, beer tourism, really. What can we do to get people in this particular area? How can we benefit the brewery? What can we do from a marketing standpoint to make them stand out in the destination, not just for that particular brewery, but for the town that they're located in. It's really a win-win.
Yeah, it's a win-win for everybody. It's a great thing. Yeah. So, what do you see in terms of, I guess, in your neck of the woods there in Virginia, like trends? What are people buying? What kinds of beers are they liking? Because I think in the Northeast here, everybody loves the New England IPA and that cloudy milkshake beer, but I've seen a lot of I've heard and I've seen like maybe some lighter beers in the Virginia area. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
So I actually just finished the classroom portion. It's a 9-month program at the University of Richmond School of Professional Continuing Studies for a professional craft brewer certificate.
Wow.
And in that, we talked about the different trends and different types of beers and the history and where they came from, and then kind of the growth and then the decline of certain beers. I mean, the IPA. 15 years ago, really wasn't even a beer that anybody drank. It wasn't a thing. Then it was really increased. The New England IPA this year is the first time that it's being recognized in competitions. The American Brewers Association created a new category for it.
Yeah.
So we're seeing a lot of New England IPAs. I mean, there's certain breweries here in Virginia, or especially in the Richmond area, that focus almost, not exclusively, but the majority of their beers are the juicy New England, the hazy IPAs. I was starting to see a lot more sours. There's another brewery here that kind of fills that niche, where they do a lot of the sours. Strange Ways does a lot of beers like that.
Okay.
A lot of the breweries here kind of find their identity in a particular style of beer, and then they do that really well, which is great, because if you're in the mood for a particular type of beer, you kind of know the gist of, hey, these 3 or 4 breweries, they do this style of beer, let's go there. Everyone has their favorite brewery, their favorite home place that they go see all their friends. They visit, 2-3 times a week if that's the place they enjoy. But, if you're for a particular type of beer, it's really easy to find that style, because there are a lot of a lot of breweries that do a particular style, not exclusively, but the majority of their beers are that way. I haven't seen as many stouts around as have been probably in the last 5-6 years. I think most of it is going to, the really big, bold, IPAs, the New England IPAs, the American Strong Ale category, I think is the majority of what you'll find here now. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. I had a lot when I was down there, I had a lot of good beer. The Shoots was in Roanoke, and I think they're planning to come in. I don't know if they put their plans on hold, or do you know what the story is with that? I think they bought the property, or.
So I saw that they bought the property. They had a location selected, but I haven't heard much specifically about what's been going on lately. It's I've got it under my maps under coming soon. And it's supposedly supposed to be their East Coast site out there in Roanoke off Market Street. But I haven't heard much about it recently.
They have a tap room there I went to, and delicious beer, really good beer.
Absolutely,
all of them are delicious. Yeah. So
the Abyss, I think, is one of my favorite stouts to date.
Oh yeah.
It used to be impossible to get in Virginia, but when they were opening up their East Coast site, now we can actually find it at bottle stores, which is great.
That's awesome. Yeah. So so it's still the IPA trend down there, and they're the kind of the milkshakes are getting down there as well. The New England IPAs, which are I love IPAs as well, but I also like dark beer, which you try to convert people to the dark beer, but it's interesting. And you probably met a lot of brewers. What are the challenges that you see that they are facing today?
It's been kind of the same as it's been since the craft beer boom in Virginia, and I think a lot of that just has to do with regulation. We're fortunate enough to be in Virginia, where I think the majority of our legislature is pro-business, pro-small business, and they're slowly changing the laws to make it easier for breweries. But I think the 3-tier system as it exists across the country is, I think, really stifling what could be an even bigger boom for craft beer. The distributors are a state mandated tax, if you will, on the breweries and distributing their beer. And it's not to say that all distributors are bad. I want to clarify that. I know people who own small distributors, and they're good at what they do. They do right by the breweries. They don't hold breweries to the franchise laws like what we have here in Virginia. If someone wants out, they're happy to give them the release.
Okay.
Which unfortunately is not what you get from some of the bigger distributors. But
no.
You have an entire section of the craft beer market that is mandated by the state that would exist in a free market, but not to the degree that it does. One of the big problems you'll see here from the smaller breweries is they'll have a one-off beer or something that's a specialty beer they brew for a special occasion, and distributing it, they have to find someone who's willing to put that SKU in their system and then ship it. And most of those distributors, especially the big ones, don't want to take the time to enter a one-off SKU into their system.
Yeah.
They don't want to take up the time to have the floor space taken up by the breweries. The wholesalers just got a law passed this year that makes it to where if you're distributing something, it has to sit on their floor for a minimum of 4 hours before it can be shipped out. I'd like to see us do something similar to what North Carolina does, where if you brew under 25,000 barrels of beer a year, you can self-distribute. And again, there's going to be those brewers who want a distributor to do that for them. I mean, they're helping do their marketing. They don't have to worry about driver's licenses. They don't have to worry about car insurance, keeping up with their trucks and repairs and hiring drivers.
It's a lot of expense. A lot of expense in that, yeah.
It should be something where if it's a small enough brewery, the owner can put a keg of his beer in the back of his car and take it across town to a restaurant that has called and asking for this particular type of beer. And you can't do that. So I think regulation is really a hindrance.
They can't self-distribute in Virginia.
No, not at all. No.
We self-distribute in New Hampshire, but it's a pain. Because we have to, get somebody to deliver the beer. We have to do all the sales, and it's a big cost as well. But
it was interesting. Yeah. I do some legislation on the side, just kind of as I see the need for different breweries, I'll try to get a particular bill passed. One of the people I was going to school with at the University of Richmond are opening up a brewery that's dog centric, and the Department of Agriculture said, well, you can't have dogs inside breweries. So I was able to get a law passed that allows, at the discretion of the brewery owner, people to bring dogs into the tasting room or outside on the patio.
I get that question every week or a couple times a week. Can I bring dogs in?
Right.
And just everybody wants to bring their dog. So
right. So you can do that now in Virginia. But one of the things that I tried to get past this last year is have it to where breweries could donate directly to nonprofits and charities. If you have, let's say, the Lions Club is doing a barbecue and they want a brewery to donate a keg of beer so that they can sell it and make money for their organization. As it stands right now in Virginia, if that keg costs you, let's say $100, use round numbers to make, and you want to donate it to the Lions Club, you have to give it to the distributor, who then sells it to the Lions Club at a markup. So you give the Lions Club $150 cash to buy the keg of beer that you would like to donate, but you can't because it has to go through a distributor. And the wholesalers killed that bill because they said it was dangerous because it starts to erode their ability to make money off all distribution, which I think is absolutely wrong.
Wow. How hard is it to become a distributor in Virginia? I mean, is there a form I tried to look this up online.
Well, so that's actually the legal loophole. You'll find a couple different breweries who want to self-distribute. What they'll do is, let's say it's a husband and wife, and so the husband owns the brewery 100%, and then they'll open up a distributor under the wife's name and make it an LLC. And so now they're technically not owned by the same people, so you can distribute that way. Yeah. But it's just extra steps that shouldn't be necessary.
Yeah, there's some ideas that I have. I want to talk to you after this podcast since I got you on the line.
Absolutely.
I try to get a hold of the ABC in Virginia, and they haven't gotten back to me. But it'd be good to talk to you first, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's the whole thing about distribution, the 3-tier system. It is a good thing, I guess, for breweries that produce a large quantity of beer. But for smaller brewers, if they want to get their beer out there, I guess you're out of luck in Virginia unless you can figure out a way to set up a distribution company or a distributor and get it out there. But then there must be some cost to that as well. So,
right.
Yeah. So I mean, that is a challenge. I would say that is a challenge that the breweries. So we're trying to now. How about local? I mean, we talk about local beer, but what other local things are local brewers aligning themselves with? Maybe food, or do they use ingredients in their beer in Virginia? What kind of things are happening? What do you see?
The local ingredients, I think, are some of the best marketing tools that a lot of breweries use. For example, there's a local malter in Virginia, Copper Fox, who not only does their own malting, but they make their own spirits. And so you'll have a lot of breweries order, straight from there, so they have Virginia malts. I know there's a couple breweries here in Richmond who do a Richmond hopped beer or Richmond IPA, and what they do is they'll give out a whole bunch of rhizomes to different home brewers or hop farmers, with the understanding that you bring back like 80% of that for them to brew this big beer. And so from all over Richmond, all different soil types, you have people bringing back all these hops, and it's not just sourced locally from farmers, it's literally sourced from the community. So everyone's really excited about that beer. They help grow the ingredients.
That's awesome.
The brewery, has everybody involved in the process. Locally sourced ingredients are something that are, I think, a big focus for craft breweries, and something that the beer buying market really pays attention to.
That's great. It just promotes the community. I mean, you can make something in your yard and you can bring it in and they'll make something out of it, and it's just, you're proud of your area, and you just celebrate community, which is fantastic. And that's the local.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think there's a farm. There's something, I don't know if that's related to that. If you use a certain amount of farm products, you can get a grant or something. I'm not sure. Do you know anything about that? Or?
So I know in Virginia, there's actually a classification of brewery called a farm brewery.
Okay.
And they actually have a little bit of a easier term or time regulation wise. They're given some special dispensation for particular types of rules, but I think it means you have to grow a certain amount of your product on the farm, and it has to be classified as a working farm, et cetera. Right. I know when I was at the Virginia Beer Museum, we were trying to get past Senate Bill 769 that allows them to be the first saloon in Virginia since 1916. The way the law was originally written is that we could sell anything from any Virginia farm brewery. We were able to get that fixed to any Virginia brewery, but I do know that farm breweries get a special dispensation for certain laws and regulations. They kind of a path.
Right. Yeah, and that's promoting farms is great as well, and promoting local
Absolutely.
food and making local products is awesome. So, I appreciate what you're doing. You're spreading the word and about good craft beer. I see your map here, the Z maps. I have it on your website here with all the breweries listed, and that's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the beer trails. Is that all your idea, the beer trails, or is it
So there were certain beer trails that existed. The ones that I created, again, I saw parts of Virginia that just didn't have anything. So we created the Blue Ridge Beer Trail, which goes from Charlottesville to Lynchburg. We created the historic Hops Beer Trail, the Seminole Beer Trail, the Beltway Beer Trail, and the Helltown Beer Trail. So they're, geographically located. The nice thing that we do for the breweries in ours is it is free to be involved. We don't charge the breweries anything. You're in automatically based on your geographic location.
Great.
I know there are some beer trails out there that, charge the breweries to be involved, and it's more of a how to make money thing. Whereas, my company is more of a, what can we do for craft beer in Virginia, and cover our cost. And that's really about it.
Now, you said you're going for this craft beer at the local university. It's a certificate, or what is that again? Mm-hmm. Now, do you brew? I guess, do you brew beer?
So you're asking if they brew beer in the certificate, or do I brew beer personally?
Or do you brew beer personally, and you were going to use the certificate to do something with or is it just for knowledge? Or
so I've brewed beer personally. I've brewed it with some friends. I typically do some collaborations right around National Beer Day. Most recently, I brewed one with Three Notch and then Steam Bell, for the event. I'm hopefully trying to have a collab done with a local Richmond brewery, and then one in Liverpool, England, where my friend who pushed me for the idea is located.
Awesome.
And have something done kind of internationally.
Cool.
We'll see what happens there. So I haven't been able to homebrew as much as I would have liked recently. I've got 3 kids now, and time is hard to come by. But the program at the University of Richmond, it is called a professional craft brewer certificate, and it's a 9-month program. And I expected going into it to learn things like, how to brew a beer, different recipes, what's the pH level, what's the chemical reaction of the different types of ingredients. But it is far more than that. I was very pleasantly surprised. Mm-hmm. They get into stuff like, you're putting together a brewery. Do you want 1 or 3-phase power? Where do you run your glycol lines? What type of brewing equipment are you using? What's the difference? And they get into things like difference between 2 and 4-row malt, the alpha acids of your different hops and your beta amylase and alpha amylase, and the temperatures of brewing. So it gets really to the technical level. Wow. I mean, even to the point where we were, in labs with microscopes and doing yeast counts with nationally now renowned microbiologists who get government grants to study this type of thing. It's a really, really impressive program. Wow. About 20 people every year get accepted. It's a very competitive program. Not everybody. It's a very
limited program, like 20 people a year, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. But it is worth every penny for anybody who's looking for a kind of a primer on whether or not you want to start your own brewery. There's nothing I could recommend more than that program.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, I didn't know it existed, but now we know. But that's interesting. All right, so yeah, I appreciate you being on today. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you and they have questions about beer, or maybe they're in Virginia and they need some advice? And it seems like you're doing a lot. You have your hands in a lot of things going on in Virginia, but or maybe anybody that could try to, that is interested in beer in general, maybe they can get in touch with you. How could they do that?
The easiest way is to find me Twitter, Facebook, Godfather of NBD or Godfather of National Beer Day. Look it up. You'll be able to find me fairly easily. And then, of course, my company, Beer Me LLC. And you can look up any of our different beer trails. They're all over the place. All of them have different contact information and way to get in touch, depending on what it is they're looking for. But I'm a fairly easy guy to find. I'm usually out at some different brewery. Actually, right now, as part of my internship at the end of the craft brewery certificate, I'm working right now at Triple Crossing, doing some intern work there with them. So, I'm usually found at some local Richmond brewery, most any day of the week.
That's great. Wow. That's a great life.
Absolutely.
Celebrating beer. You're the Godfather. That's awesome.
Beer evangelism.
Hallelujah. But hey, listen, I appreciate you taking the time out to come on the Craft Beer Storm and preaching the gospel, like I always say, and educating people on beer and your efforts in Virginia. I think it's very noble, and I think you're doing a great job, and just keep doing what you're doing. And we will meet for that beer soon. Thanks very much for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. I look forward to that beer.
All right, great.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, that was Justin Smith of Beer Me. He's also the Godfather of National Beer Day. I saw it on his, his signature on his emails. I'm like, what's this guy? He's like, Godfather. What's the story? But he founded National Beer Day, and he's trying to make it a national holiday. That'd be awesome. It's on April 7th. So remember, put it in your calendar now. Put it on your phone. April 7th is National Beer Day. But it was great to talk to him. And if you like what you heard, if you like what we're doing, spreading the word about craft beer, go on to iTunes, give us a rating, give us a review, tell your friend about us, and get more people involved. We're trying to create a movement here about craft beer. I still see a lot of the big beer in stores, and there's a time and a place for big beer. It's good, but there's a lot of people that don't know about local good craft beer, and that there is an alternative. So, guys, I will talk to you soon. We'll talk to you next week. Take care.